The trailer was incredible. You can go back and watch our reaction to the trailer, and I think they delivered on the TVMA. I think there was plenty of blood.
For the fire escape of the building next to
It
them.
was like 5 minutes of shooting.
And then he's like running across the ground, climbing that fire escape, jumps into the window, and he's like, I'm here.
He must have been listening from 5 blocks away. Yeah, Alaqua Cox has a really interesting story for getting cast in Echo.
She does. Welcome to Backseat Directing.
Where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're reviewing the show Echo.
3, 2, 1. Action. Threw us off, but you played into it.
Yeah, thank you. When I said Echo, I was like, man, it'd be stellar if Andrew said Echo right after.
Echo.
But we missed the opportunity, you know.
Sometimes you like miss the target and you hit another target.
Yeah,
in the background.
I know you did the 3.
Yeah.
You know, or the 1, whichever number you said last. Anyways, let's dive in. Today we're talking about the new Marvel show that just dropped. They dropped all 5 episodes in one day, which, as far as I know, is the first time they've done that for their shows.
That's
right?
something I wanted to start off with this show, since it's at the beginning of the episode. Start with the firsts that Echo accomplished, because there was a list of accomplishments for Echo, actually. So
tell me about them.
Echo marks the first titular superhero in the MCU to be Native American, the first titular character to be disabled or differently abled. It marks the first time that Netflix has used the binge model and dropped all the episodes at once. It marks the
Disney.
What did I say?
They copied.
They used Netflix's
Netflix.
binge model.
Boom.
It marks the first time, and we're back.
Yeah.
It marks the first time that the MCU has dropped a TV show that was rated TVMA, and it marks the first time that they've dropped a show simultaneously on Disney Plus and Hulu. It's a lot of firsts.
Boom. That is a lot. Very cool too.
To be clear, I said the first time the MCU dropped. I know that I don't want to get a comment that's like Daredevil's TVMA. Daredevil's dropped by Netflix, even though it's a Marvel character.
Yeah, different, same,
Different, but same.
but same. Before we dive in a little bit further, I want to say thank you everyone for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our other episodes. We post every Monday and Thursday. Andrew, going into this show, Echo, were you excited? Were you maybe a little hesitant? Me, to be honest, I not really like invested in Marvel nearly as much, you know, like we've been talking about it for the past year, you know. Is Marvel slipping? Is it not as epic as it used to be, or captivating might even be a better word, you know? So what were your thoughts heading into watching Echo?
I would say that I wasn't super excited because I felt like her character didn't have a super big role in Hawkeye. But then the trailer was incredible. You can go back and watch our reaction to the trailer, and we thought that the trailer looked really good.
I was not really looking forward to it, but then the trailer was so hype. I was like, oh, okay.
The trailer,
This is going to be sick.
Seeing Daredevil and Kingpin playing a role in it, and seeing that it was going to be rated TVMA, instilled a lot of confidence, because the trailer showed us like these crazy gunshots and blood splatter, and it's like, oh, like you and me love that.
They're doing it. They're going that extra step, and they're giving us what we want finally, right? Did they?
I think they delivered on the TVMA. I think there was plenty of blood. That's none of my issues with the show. So you want to start with our general thoughts of the show?
Absolutely.
So I thought of this on the car ride over here, and I think the best way for me to say it succinctly is that overall I enjoyed the show. On the general level, I thought like on the looking at it from a general perspective, from a stepping back, I think the show is good. But then where I have issues is like the granular level. When I start to like get episode to episode and pick it apart, I have a lot of nitpicks and like a lot of complaints. And my fiance Sierra hated watching the show with me because I said them all out loud while I watched them in real time. But I have
Sorry, Sierra.
some complaints that we'll get into, we'll say. But what did you think of Echo?
So
I've finished the show. You have.
I finished half of the show,
Okay.
so 2.5 episodes is what I've gotten through. The first episode, I liked it. The first episode I felt like was really strong, but then from there, I just felt like I lost interest. Not even maybe because the show wasn't good, but because like I'm just tired of the MCU. You know, like all of our main favorite characters are gone pretty much, and it just still feels like it's just being dragged out, you know? And even though the first episode was good, it wasn't enough in the second episode to make me truly invested in these characters in this story by themselves.
Yeah.
I think if she was introduced in the Daredevil series, you know, and she was like Elektra or something, and she was reoccurring, and now she's getting her own TV show, like, okay.
It works for the Punisher.
I might be into that. You know, like I love the actor or actress. She did a phenomenal job.
Here's my Aaron pronunciation hour. Can you say her name?
No, I don't even know her name, to be honest.
It's Alaqua Cox.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to say that.
Can you say it back to me?
Alaqua?
You got it.
Was it? Hey.
You're the new pronunciation
Nice.
guy now.
Thank you. Thank you. Just come to me when you have questions about how to say a word.
Yeah, Alaqua Cox has a really interesting story for getting cast in Echo.
She does.
Apparently, she was sent a casting call by a bunch of her friends. She was not an actress. She had another job. And a bunch of her friends sent it to her because Marvel was casting for a Native American who spoke American Sign Language. And they were like, this is perfect for you. And I think she sent in a tape and got cast.
Yeah, which made me root for the show even more, you know, because I heard about that going into Hawkeye. But I just wasn't that into it, you know?
Yeah, I think I see your complaints, especially in overall in terms of the world, because when you say that a lot of people we care about are gone or dead, it's like, yeah, Captain America, Iron Man, two of the biggest staples of the universe are gone and moved on. We don't have Chadwick Boseman anymore for rest in peace for Black Panther. Now it feels like what they're doing with Daredevil is trying to shoehorn him into these shows in place of that, where it's not organic and it's not moving the plot forward. Like I mentioned Punisher before, like Punisher was an organic part of Daredevil season 2, and he played a huge role in it, and it was involved in the story rather than being shoehorned in for like one part of an episode. He feels like he has like a cameo in She-Hulk, which is fun. It's fun, but it's not.
He's just a marketing tool at this point. Like we're not even getting Daredevil. We're just getting a hint of Daredevil so they can put it in the trailer to get us to watch the show. And I feel like it makes you feel like you're not getting what you were sold. You know?
It's almost like just give us Maya Lopez. Like just focus. Like don't even bother if you're not gonna go with both feet in on Daredevil and Maya Lopez. Then just go Maya Lopez.
Yeah.
Don't bait and switch.
Right. Yeah. It was disappointing. And I only watched half the season, so I don't know if he's in the end of the series at all. Oh.
Spoiler alert for Echo.
So now I have even less motivation to continue all the way through. But it was very exciting when we saw him jump in on this first fight, but it felt off. It didn't move the story forward at all. Like it was just, he jumps in. I've been watching you all night. She couldn't hear a word he was saying. And then they fought, and then he just left the fight. He didn't even finish fighting her. Like, why did he leave? Where did he go?
Those were like a bunch of nitpicks for me in that fight, because I said I had nitpicks. Like, he's been watching them all night, and for a person with super hearing and radar sense, he sure let them shoot a bunch and murder a bunch of people before he got involved. You know what I mean? He sat idly by and did nothing while all those people died, knowing everything that was going on.
Unless if he's like climbing down the stairs for the fire escape of the building next to them.
It was like 5 minutes of shooting.
And then he's like running across the ground, climbing that fire escape, jumps into the window, and he's like, I'm here.
He must have been listening from 5 blocks away. Yeah. But then my other nitpick was that he just left. She didn't beat him. He had the upper hand. He knocked a cabinet down on her, and she went and grabbed a gun. Yeah, but he had plenty of time to stop her.
And it's not like hasn't fought bad guys with guns before.
Yeah,
and
he fought her with guns early in the fight, and was like disarming her while she was fighting him and going toe to toe. My other complaint, I made a TikTok about this, but Kingpin says none of my men have ever held their own with him like that before, and I was like, what about season 1 of Daredevil. Like season 1 of Daredevil would have been so boring if nobody could have fought him. Like
Yeah.
specifically Nobu. Nobu beat the crap out of Daredevil on like 2 occasions.
A lot of people have beaten the crap out of Daredevil.
They've held their own. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, he's fighting 10 guys and he's incredible, but Nobu kicked his ass.
Yeah.
And Sierra was like, well, how do you know that was before? Because in season 1, he doesn't have the Daredevil suit. He doesn't have the red Daredevil suit, and he's wearing the suit, which is another confusing thing to me about them melding the universe, is he never wore a yellow suit in Netflix Daredevil, but he's wearing a yellow suit that he said was like a prototype suit or a new suit or something. And
Well, he like traveled, right? Like he wasn't in
California.
Yeah. So like that was just his California sun suit, you know? That's it.
I don't understand the timeline really.
Don't you want to like change it up a little bit, you know? Like you don't wear that jacket every single day, you know? Like, come on now.
Yeah, I guess just a style thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't understand the
He
timeline.
clearly cares about colors.
Because he's blonde. But yeah, I don't know.
You think he knew that it was a different color?
Dude, chill out. So I have some of the creators. Do you want to hear that before we go forward? So the directors for the 5 episodes of Echo are Sydney Freeland and Catriona Mackenzie. And then the cinematographer is Dave Porter, listed on 4 episodes, but there wasn't another cinematographer listed for a 5th episode. So
mystery.
That one cinematographed itself. And then Alaqua Cox plays Maya Lopez, or Echo, our hero of the story, but our complicated hero. Vincent D'Onofrio plays Wilson Fisk, or Kingpin. Chasky Spencer plays Henry Black Crow Lopez. Devery Jacobs is Bonnie. Cody Lightning is Biscuits. Graham Greene is Scully, the grandfather, or the grandmother's boyfriend. Tantu Cardinal is Chula. Andrew Howard is Zane from Trustabro. And Charlie Cox, obviously appearing as Daredevil, our beloved hero. Yeah, not enough. Not enough, if you ask me.
Yeah, I don't really even know where to go next. Like, because I was thinking about it earlier. I said, like, maybe if she showed up more, like, with Daredevil in the past, or maybe even a little bit more with Hawkeye, like, we would be more invested in her, like, own series. But, like, I enjoyed Jessica Jones. Yeah. You know, like, a lot, actually. I hold that first season just up there with Daredevil. You know, like, I thought it was fantastic. You know, I loved the character, loved the story, loved the villain, loved everything about it, you know? But why is it not the same for Echo? Because she has a cool character, or she is a cool character. She has a cool, like, character kind of dynamic where she's basically trying to replace Fisk, you know?
Queen
like,
Pin. Why
do I not feel as invested as I did in, like, Jessica Jones? You know?
Yeah, I think the show has some like really good highlights in like I said,
is it just writing?
Like I said, in the broad sense, right? In the broad sense, you've got a differently abled hero, a hearing impaired deaf hero with prosthetic leg, and she's super badass, and she's violent. She's got no qualms about violence. So you've got this really cool badass female heroine. And then you've got the Native American representation shown throughout the show. I mean,
which was cool.
You've got historical, like the echoes through the ancestors, the historical context in the show, the cultural representation in terms of like the clothes, the Native American music, the location they're shooting on, the Choctaw Reservation in Oklahoma. Like all of that representation and development is really cool. It's all in the broad sense. And then when you get down to like the granular sense, the episode to episode, the writing is, to me, it's not that strong. And then the special effects, when you're like looking closely at them, do not look very good, especially the train scene in the 2nd episode.
I thought it wasn't terrible though.
I did not like the train scene. I thought it looked
Am
bad.
I too lenient these days? Have I gotten soft?
I think you look through the lens of like, could I do it? And I look through the lens like, they have $100 million. They should have done better. But I just thought the train sequence, like there's so many things they could do practically, like find a train track. You know, like I understand you maybe can't shoot the whole thing, but like there's a shot of the train going into a tunnel, and you could have found a train and tunnel, like with your budget, and that was entirely CGI train going into a tunnel. Like it did not look good. The CGI bird that you wouldn't have seen, it's not until like episode 5. Oh, they show it. It's in the first episode.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what kind of bird it is, but it's It was Bird
It's
landing
more
on the post.
it's more prominently featured in episode 5, and I guess they
Okay.
explain where it comes from for her.
Yeah.
But I don't think that looks very good either. Just find a bird.
I feel like the bird looked really good, but for whatever reason, it didn't blend with the environment. Like it was almost more like saturated and contrasty than everything else. Like it popped too much, I thought, in the first episode where I saw it.
Yeah, in the 5th episode, I just don't like the way that humans interact with it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of cool aspects to this, but I don't know. I liked it. I think that it's in the top half of the MCU shows for me, which doesn't say a whole lot because I'm
It
not a
just
big
feels
fan of the MCU shows.
just felt forced, which is unfortunate.
Things I liked about it, though, I will say, I liked that it was 5 episodes because it was very digestible, and I like that they dropped it with the binge model, all 5 episodes at
I
once. So
do
watch
like
them
that a lot. And like I said, I enjoyed the first episode a lot. I texted you right after I watched it, and I was like, that was fun.
all.
I
The
really
one in
liked
the
it.
first episode is great.
Yeah. We actually have that pulled up. Shall we watch it?
Let's do it.
All right.
So to explain, I think a lot of people know what this term is now as it's popularized, but a oneer is like a long shot with no visible cuts. So they hold the camera without.
Here we go. Boom.
Man,
Cool entrance.
his running looks awkward though, doesn't it?
He's about ready to run through a door. But yeah, they're going through again. The camera's just dancing around. It feels really cool. It just felt like they just didn't have as much time as they would.
That's
and
probably
like
a cut, right?
it could have been, yeah. Like it just feels like there wasn't maybe as much time as what they had for like the Daredevil one scenes.
What just happened?
Did this just cut
This
to
is
something
a
else?
totally different part. This isn't like
What the heck, man?
this is in like episode 2 or 3.
Well, that was weird.
That,
All right.
that kind of ruins the premise of the oneer, but
Yeah. You know what I think it is? It's probably so they can post it on YouTube.
yeah, makes sense. That punch, I don't think there's
That
there's quite a few punches I don't think that sell that well, but it's
Yeah,
hard to do that in a
that just
oneer.
skipped. Yeah, this is all out of whack. Let's stop.
So I think
Let's find a different shot, shall we?
that's some of my like nitpicks too. Is like some of the fighting choreo. That punch right there is
Yeah,
not great at all.
Audience didn't see it.
But some of the punches do not sell incredibly well, but a lot of them they're doing with Maya Lopez, and she's not a stunt performer, so I think she's doing an incredible job. And this is one of the first things she's even acted in too. So to go to doing her own stunts is incredible. So a lot of it there, you have to be more careful when you're working with somebody who's not a fellow stunt performer, is one thing.
Yeah, it just felt like they didn't have time to like really work out all the kinks. Some of the punches looked like the person receiving the punch was anticipating it quite a bit,
Or like they didn't hit very hard, they pulled their punch back very
Right.
evidently. But it's hard to do during a oneer.
Yeah.
During a oneer, like you can't
There's so
mess,
many
you can't mess
pieces
anything up.
moving. Yeah. So all right. So now we're here with Daredevil. Did it just jump again?
I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
So she slides out.
It definitely just messed up.
It
But
did.
that
Gosh
we
darn
also
it.
got to see a clip
Lighting looks cool, right?
the part earlier where he tackles her through the door. We got to see something that I think it was the director called the deaf perspective. So they do
Yeah,
a thing.
this is all just messed up.
They
We're just gonna.
we'll just watch it.
Yeah.
But they do a thing with this deaf perspective they created where they suck the sound out of a scene. And
Really cool.
that's one of my
Yeah,
favorite
really
aspects
cool.
of the show. That
was
along
a
with
cut.
like along with the Native American culture inserted in the show, the deaf perspective was like my favorite thing in the entire show. The way that they like put you in her shoes removing the sound, and it just has this cool like quiet feeling to it. See, that's like an example of what you said of anticipating the hit. She slides pretty early to that.
I did like how she like kicked her foot up, held her foot, and then kicked. That was pretty
awesome.
sick.
They make Daredevil's movement look really fluid there. Like she turns her back to him, and instantly he's like flipping over this 10-foot fence.
Yeah, super cool. I thought that looked really good. He just looks so nonchalant,
Yeah.
and I love that.
I feel like he never looked that nonchalant in Netflix's Daredevil though. I feel like he was always very like
You don't think so?
trying to survive.
I think he did. I think he like he would take a punch, but then just take a few, or throw a
beat.
punch and just take a few steps rather than like run away or something.
Yeah, but there I feel like he's not on the offensive. I feel like he's choosing to let her swing and miss.
No, I thought that was the closest thing to Daredevil that we've gotten since Netflix. And I think they did a pretty good job for, like probably the time and resources that they had for it.
The Wonder itself is very impressive. Obviously, not perfectly executed, like we said, with some of the hits not landing that well, but it's still a feat and
Oh
very,
yeah,
very entertaining. I watched the whole scene, immediately rewound it and watched it again because
yeah,
I wanted to.
it was
It's
great.
very cool.
Yeah, that's what kind of really got me excited about the first episode, and then nothing was at the same level in the second episode.
A lot of blood spray in that one or two, but yeah,
Yeah.
the second episode is they leave New York and go to Oklahoma, and it definitely changes the show. It's cool that they got permission and worked in cohesion with the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma and got to film in Oklahoma with alongside the Choctaw Nation. It's really really cool, but it's just an interesting setting. Like
It
to
felt like
take her out.
everyone working on the project really cared about the project, and then put in everything that they could, and I do appreciate that a lot. It's just I feel like the MCU just needs something. It needs something different. I shows in general I haven't really been into as much lately. Like there's 2-3 shows last year that I'm like was really into, and that's about it.
Start watching anime,
that's
dude.
not that much.
Start watching anime, and there's plenty of good stuff coming out. I have a source code segment for this episode.
Heck yeah, let's hear it.
So during our source code segment, we'll go and look at the inspiration for this material, which Echo's inspiration is obviously in Marvel Comics. She made her first appearance in Daredevil Volume 2, Issue 9 in 1999, which is the year I was born. So Echo's as old as me. So she appeared in that comic book with some similarities to the show. You'll hear some differences here. Her father, who is known by the moniker of Crazy Horse, he was in a gang, and he was killed by Wilson Fisk. Now, when he died, he reached his hand out to touch Maya's face and put a bloody handprint on her face, which would later become a trademark of her outfit, when she put the white hand mark on her face as she donned a costume to become Echo. As Crazy Horse was dying, he said to Wilson Fisk that he would ask him to raise his daughter, which is a weird request for your murderer, but Wilson Fisk, being a weird guy, took that on for some unknown reason and raised Maya Lopez as his own daughter. And
comics are weird, man.
yeah, it's the weird stuff happens. But
the opening of this series looked like a comic book,
Yeah.
where they were starting in that cave, like all these crazy colors and stuff. Like I was watching, I was like, this is like a comic book. But I feel like the MCU started out so realistic that people just aren't about that.
the whole the whole trust a bro and these guys in their like minivans feels comic-y to me. It feels like kind of corny and goofy.
Yeah.
Which, comics are corny and goofy, but I miss the like early phase MCU feeling of like in our world, superheroes in our world. So anyway, the Wilson Fisk, he's raising Maya Lopez. She was born deaf, so that she has that disability, but in the comics, she does not have the amputated leg that she got from the car accident in the movies. So in the series, so that's another difference for our Maya Lopez in the MCU. Kingpin puts her in a school, a private school, I believe, but it's discovered that she has photographic reflexes similar to Taskmaster. So witnessing something one time, like somebody fighting, dancing, playing the piano, she's able to perfectly replicate it. When she perfectly replicates somebody's,
I didn't even know that. Did they explain that?
Nope, she doesn't. I mean, she doesn't really do that in the show.
Yeah,
but,
what the heck? That's really cool.
So she has a different set of powers, which I don't know if you would have seen in episode 2 maybe on the train. She has powers in the show. Yeah, glowing. It does other stuff.
Okay.
But as far as I can tell, she doesn't have that in the comics. In the comics, she has these photographic reflexes. She gets put in a school for prodigies where she develops her skills. She learns to be I think at one point she wins a world championship boxing match or something. She has all these incredible skills from this ability. Now, eventually, Wilson Fisk conducts her into the world of crime. He wants her to go after Daredevil, so he concocts the lie that Daredevil is the one who killed her father, Crazy Horse. And she watches everything she can find on both Daredevil and Bullseye to learn and copy their fighting styles. And then she goes after Daredevil on the hunt. And she actually ends up defeating Daredevil by bringing him into an environment where his enhanced senses work against him.
Show us that.
It would be really cool.
Why wasn't that the season?
So I haven't read the comics myself. I don't know what she brings him to, but she basically finds his weakness, his kryptonite, and she defeats Daredevil, unmasks him as Matt Murdock.
I love seeing Daredevil at the
brink.
The inch away from death, you know?
That's where he lives. So she talks to Matt Murdock, and he tells her the truth that Wilson Fisk is actually the one who killed her father. And then she goes back to confront Wilson Fisk. That's where she shoots him, which develops the story that we see at the end of Hawkeye.
I want that.
And then, just in pure comic fashion, and just like in the show, Wilson Fisk comes back to life and also forgives her in the comics and says that that he sees her as a daughter. So that's where we jump off into in the show. Wilson Fisk, you haven't seen this yet, but comes back in the series, and saying that he forgave her. And I don't know. The end of it is kind of a mess for me. So I know you don't really intend to watch it, but I feel like the last episode kind of went off the rails. The episodes have a cool theme to the name. Each episode of Echo is named based on one of her ancestors. So the episodes are named
I noticed that.
Chafa, Loak, Tuklo, Taloa, and then the last episode's named Maya, after our titular character, Maya Lopez, who becomes Echo, and she dons this awesome costume at the end. But for those that have seen it, unlike Aaron, it just feels very anticlimactic at the end. There's some silly, goofy details like her uncle brandishing a firearm and putting a silencer on it in the middle of the powwow with everybody around him. Then they cut away from like the climactic action sequence. She like somehow grants powers to see the white mark on her face. She on the bottom left. She grants powers to her grandma and her cousin Bonnie, and then they all fight against Kingpin and his goons. And then she puts her hands on Kingpin's foreheads and use her magic glowing powers to make him transported back to the room he was in when his father was alive and his mother was alive, and he has like an emotional breakdown. But then that's kind of like super undercut because like she like signs to him that she wants to help him, that he is still her uncle. And then like she comes out of that and a goon like points a gun at her, and then him and Kingpin just leave and get in a car and drive away. And so there's no real like, that's the moment where I felt the most connection between her and Kingpin. I felt like the relationship was the most real, with her like being like admitting, you are my uncle, you are my family, even if I don't want you to be, and that she wants to help him. And then from that, like nothing happens. He just leaves. Nice. And like they had her at gunpoint. That it just looked awkward to me. That goon coming out of nowhere, unnamed goon with a gun, like, and then
hey, he matters too.
I also don't understand her powers. Like she has the ability to make him see visions and to make her grandma and cousin know how to fight, and also her mom could like heal birds. There's a bird that was like on the brink of death, and her mom like touched it and brought it back to life, and she was just hiding that ability from the world, you know, the ability to like cure and heal illnesses. Her mom was just like living in a cabin holding on to that she was secretly like had these godlike powers. I don't know. That all felt kind of messy to me.
I feel overwhelmed.
I don't know. It felt like they undercut their ending. The ending didn't feel very strong. And then like at the very end, she just comes to them all having dinner together, which for some reason her uncle, who was her father's brother, who the mom hated and outcast the brother, her father's uncle was just sitting around having dinner with them, like having a good time. It's like, you get along now? I don't really know what happened there. She forgave Maya. Like,
what happened to the firefighter lady?
Dude, did you see the firefighter lady? Nothing. She got kidnapped by Wilson Fisk and then helped fight them because Maya granted her like powers. That's her cousin Bonnie.
She got powers too?
Temporarily. Maya made the cousin Bonnie and grandma able to fight with her. There was a really cool scene though with the ancestors, the 4 or 5 ancestors standing behind her, like the empowerment of the moment of like the ancestral strength echoing through to Maya.
Echoing.
It was reminiscent of the end of Star Wars. When Rey has the I am all the Jedi moment, like that felt very cool. But then they kept cutting away from that scene to scenes of the uncle like in the crowd trying to go after Zane from Trust a Bro, and like I was like, why are you cutting away from the climax so many times? Like show that fight, show that scene. Let
it breathe.
Yeah, and it just felt disjointed.
Yeah, I feel way more interested in the comic story that you mentioned, where she's going on this.
That's because Daredevil's more involved.
But like that would have helped the show, you know, like if Daredevil's a constant character throughout, but he's not the main guy that we're following. Maybe we're not following him at all, besides the fact when she's in the room with him, you know, hunting him down, and then she beats him, you know, and that gives credibility to this character because we all love Daredevil so much. And I'm sure there's a way to do it where we still love Daredevil too, and we're not like, oh, like that was, you know, like he just lost, you know. But he's lost before, and we still
Yeah,
love him.
the environment, it wouldn't be his fault. It wouldn't make
Yeah.
him any less of a fighter, and it would make her more intelligent strategically. So I think that all could work out just fine. But there was a lot of stuff, like I said, on the granular level that just didn't make sense or was annoying to me. Like, did you watch the scene in the skating rink, right, where Zane comes in, and I just felt like all of that was not a good episode to me.
Yeah,
Like the
that's where I stopped.
like they put her in a room and like handcuffed her, and then they gave her if you have her captive, why did you give her her leg back? So many small critiques for me in that. It's like they keep coming in and out of the room. She takes the handcuffs off, and then they just like
How?
back out of the room. The zip ties she uses her leg, the knife in the
Uh,
boot, she cuts the zip ties or whatever, and then like she punches
oh,
Bonnie.
that's convenient.
She punches Bonnie in the face for almost no reason, and then Zane and all of them come in and talk to whatever the guy's name is.
Man, I really like the first episode where they're on the top of that water tower, and she's like, "I want to take over. I want to send a message to Fisk." Like could have gone somewhere.
The you did you watch the whole skating rink episode? You know what I'm talking about?
I've stopped right at that part.
Zane comes in looking for Maya, and he comes to the guy who has kidnapped her, and he's like, instead of being like, "Where is she? Take me to her," his men just start fanning out, like just walking around the building, and just why? Like, it's also she can get away and like the plot can go the way they want it to, but just be like, all right, take me to her, and they would have walked right up to her. But instead they're like arguing about how he's going to get paid and stuff. Like, if you're not going to pay him, just say take me to her, and then don't pay him afterwards. Or actually look for her. They're like standing in the middle of the ring for like 30 minutes until she shows up and starts kicking their asses. Like, I don't know. It felt like when you're watching this, you have to be thinking through the eyes of the audience, like, why would this happen? Why would this make sense when you're making it?
Right.
And a lot of it just didn't make sense to me at different moments in the show.
The audience is smart.
Yeah.
Like
treat them like they're smart.
Yeah, we catch on to things. Like we ask questions like, why would this character go into this dark room that the bad guy just went into? Like, like you have to give us reasons behind actions. A cause and effect. And it seems like they were writing their way out of things in a cheap way, almost.
They were
like
riding to a destination, which is
like yeah, like she's handcuffed, but it's like, oh, we'll give her a knife.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then there's just these awkward story beats where like they bring Bonnie into the room and then she's not handcuffed, and then they come in and see she's not handcuffed, and then they just like leave and lock the door and go like screw off to some other part of the skating rink, and they're like waiting for the other guys to show up. Like, it feels very awkward and clunky to me.
Yeah. I saw the part where Bonnie came in and was talking to the
Maya.
uncle.
Oh yeah, to the uncle.
And he was like signing. It just felt like obvious, didn't it? I don't know.
He like waved her off, yeah.
Yeah.
But
hey, is what it is.
those are just complaints.
Marvel had very high highs back in the day.
No empire lasts forever.
That's right. And it'll always be remembered, never forgotten.
One thing this show made me want to do really bad is rewatch the first season of Daredevil.
Hey, sounds like a good time to me. How do you feel about Born Again?
Not optimistic now at all.
Even with them firing and rehiring people?
Even still, here's the thing is, I'm rooting for Alaqua Cox. I'm rooting for Charlie Cox. They have the same last name. Isn't that interesting? I'm rooting for both of them as actors.
Just kidding.
I'm rooting for both of them, and I like them a lot in their roles. They do a great job.
Agreed.
I like them. Like Charlie Cox is awesome. I love Daredevil, the show from Netflix, to death.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not that excited for these shows. Like, I want them to do well. No, I don't root against the success, but I feel nervous for Born Again for sure.
I would totally agree with everything you just said. What about you guys listening here in the room with us? How do you guys feel about Echo, the state of Marvel, and then also how are you feeling about Daredevil Born Again, that series that's supposed to come out about Daredevil? Do you have high hopes? Are you a little optimistic, or are you kind of holding back and we'll just wait and see kind of thing? They'll probably drop an awesome trailer to get us all hyped. Will they deliver on that trailer? Maybe, maybe not. That kind of wraps up our discussion about Echo, Thank you so much for watching. We post new episodes every Monday and Thursday. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of our videos and episodes and shows and short films and everything else that we put out. We're on social media. You can hang out with us there. We have a link to our Discord in the description of our YouTube channel, so you can jump in and join the conversation on Discord. We do updates on the channel. We talk about different movie topics, show episode topics, and then we also debate and talk and whatnot and hang out in that. So check that out. The Discord link, again, is in the YouTube description. And that's a wrap.